Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate.
What's going on, everybody? All right. Today we are doing a great episode. It's just Carlos and I locking this down today. John's not going to be here. Appreciate everyone for hopping in. We try our best to show up every single week. Carlos from Investor Fuse and Carrot, and Brandon from, Ted Sysops and things. We appreciate you. Carlos, what's going on, buddy?
Not too
What
much,
is
man. Glad
going on?
glad to be back home. Good week in Tampa. Rocking and rolling here. Still getting caught up on a bunch of stuff, to be honest. So definitely will do a debrief on the family mastermind trip. In my hometown, but where you spent some time too, the Baltimore Bridge. I'm sure we'll talk about. I've been hearing stuff about that every day. But yeah, man, grateful to be here. Q2 is starting off here in a few days, so yeah, man, I'm pumped. How are you? You were doing some contracts, realtor
Dude,
stuff.
I
You know,
apologize. You probably see me doing something. So listen, it's been a whirlwind week in my mobile home park journey. We're last minute, last hour trying to save a deal on a park. And so we're redoing contracts. There's been renegotiations. Hopefully, I'll have everything. I could tell you more next week once I actually get pen to ink here. But I wanted to get it off to the attorney. It just goes to show, things can fall apart for many reasons. And I was talking to one of my partners on this deal, and as of last week, this park was dead. But it just we get paid to solve problems is kind of
mhm.
what it is. And it's like you never know how things are going to work out, but so we had a choice. Not really a choice, because you don't know you have a choice at the moment, right? When things happen in the moment, you don't know that there's choices. You don't know what to do. It's just things happen at a rapid pace and you respond. You can get emotional. A deal's dead. You move on to the next one. You might get angry. There was a point where what is it, you go through the seven different phases of grief or whatever, where like
Oh yeah.
anger, like you go through all
Uh,
those, and it's the same type of concept, especially when you have a lot of money and a lot of time into a deal. But we stuck with it, and we're trying to solve that problem, and I think we hit where the seller's issue was. So we're trying to put something back together, but until they sign, it's not a done deal. And it's just, too many people. It's just the whole thing in wholesaling, right? Where people talk about projected profit versus
mhm,
closed revenue, and there's a huge difference. And it's the same thing. You don't count a deal until it's closed. You
mhm,
definitely don't count your commissions until you actually have the money in the bank,
mhm.
right? And then you don't spend the money that you're going to make before you actually have earned that money. Those are just some tips in real estate. So when they sign, I'd love to go into more of it. Um, but yeah, that's what I was doing. I was hitting this realtor back so she could get this off to the attorney, and we can get it signed and executed.
Love it. It was like Papa P diffusing a bomb, like you see in like a movie like Die Hard or something like that, just with the timer going
That's
down,
what
trying
it's
to.
been, man. And it's like, because you go and you're like, you're against a wire and you're trying to get stuff done. You have this closing date. When something like that happens, you have to
Mhm,
figure out what wire, like, what is it? Because they don't tell you the effing truth. Like, and so I'll kind of go off a little bit here, like a wholesale deal, right? Like seller.
mhm.
How many times I mean, I remember when I was new in the business and I had a seller tell me, this is a true story. I get on the phone, it's an old lady. I'm not new in real estate, but I'm new in wholesaling, right? In real estate, as a realtor, people don't just back out of deals. You sign a contract, fucking done. First
Mhm.
lesson I had. Lady goes, "Well, I don't really want to sell anymore. I'm gonna go visit my son. Now's not a good time. He doesn't really want me to sell it anyway, and I'm driving up north to go see my son, and I'm gonna be with him for a while. He needs my help." Whatever the story was, something to that effect. It's been
Mhm.
like 9 years now. Anyway, so I cancel it. I go, I totally understand. I'll send you a cancellation right now. You call us when you're ready. That was whatever month and day it was, and then like I forget what it was. It was like 6 months later. One of my acquisition guys is like, "Hey, do you think she's ready?" And we look it up on county records. What do you think closed that effing month?
Sold somebody else.
Sold to somebody else, bro, at a
Mhm.
higher dollar amount, right? Like you could see in county records the date, the sales price, and all that. So they don't tell you the truth. It's not
Yeah.
like you're gonna sit there and they always make something up, whether it's a family excuse, whether it's an illness, whether they don't want to move, whether they don't. Sellers aren't going to tell you. So like you have to get to the bottom of it by piecing things together from conversations you've had, and that's what it was like diffusing a bomb. But yeah, that was
Hmm.
the last time I ever did that. My after that happened, I would never send a cancellation. I mean, if I had it written, my contracts were legal, I would let them know. You know.
Hmm. I'm
So
very much a defender of wholesalers, especially talking to my friends or buddies that are either agents or just people that I meet that are like fix and flippers that are getting into direct to seller marketing for the first time. But that's part of the fee and the service you're providing is like there's a lot of brain damage that goes on just keeping those deals together or even just the initial getting the deal under contract. I was talking to a guy who's in South Florida yesterday and he mentioned JVing a deal and he made a good bit of money on it. But he was like, man, the brain damage of having to deal with like a Cuban American just like questioning every single thing, wanting stuff in
oh
the
my
contract
goodness, dude.
adjusted, negotiating, having to win the deal, quote unquote. He's like, man, he's like, I need a therapy
100%.
session just after cold calling for a day. Like that's like a wholesaler schedule. It's like hours of cold calling. You go see your therapist after cold calling, see your therapist after. So yeah, I'm
Deal with
totally in
complaints,
agreement with
yeah.
you that I'm totally agreeing with you. It's like it's solution, solution
And
based. What type of solution solving for the seller, and
it's
that's how you
not
get compensated.
it, yeah, it's not different than a realtor what you're saying. It's
Hmm.
and I was hesitant to say that, but it's you're right. Like, yeah. I mean, I think you said it very good. That it's just you're getting compensated for that.
Hmm.
I think the only difference, like realtors do it, but again, it's just the way people view contracts with wholesalers versus realtors is a lot different, you know?
Hmm.
Legally binding versus, yeah, it's just a piece of paper.
Hmm.
Um, but you were saying that you had talked to somebody. Was this so? I'd love to before we hop into. So we're going to talk about some seller finance buyers. You know, you're doing a seller finance deal, what to look for in a buyer, and like how to pick the right buyer. Because seller financing in today's market can be very enticing. You'll get hit by a lot of people. But I would love before we get into that, you were saying that you were talking to somebody about this. About the JVing with someone. Was that at the family mastermind? Because I know you were at the family. I was watching on social media. I saw you chilling out, big hitters, making just big dinners, blowing
Hmm.
money at steakhouses and stuff, just living life. I saw other people I know there just, getting wild after the events and stuff.
I
Fill
think
me
I know
in,
who you're
dude.
talking
Like,
about.
yeah, dude, yeah, yeah. I follow him, and I was like, "Oh, this dude's always doing something, man."
Hmm.
But well, fill us in on the family mastermind.
Yeah,
We already know about what it is because you've done this. You go there what once or twice a year. But tell us
yeah,
about this event. Like, what was the big ticket? What was your big takeaway from this time's visit to Tampa?
yeah, definitely. So the conversation I had, that was just somebody either looking for investor views or carrots. That was actually yesterday when I got back home. It'll transition nicely talking to the family. One of the things I posted and what I think is really cool and is talks and goes well with like me and Papa P talking about like the buyer agents and what's going to happen there is there are people that think brokerages now are going to start listing properties on their own website instead of putting it on their local MLS so that they have full back end control of all things buyer agent. And you probably know this name. I didn't recognize. I'm looking at my family mastermind notes here. Howard Hanna. They're a brokerage that's already starting to do that. So that's the prediction. And guess who's going to be positioned well for this? Even though they're a massive company, they face some losses. Zillow, that's able to aggregate all the brokerage's website instead of someone that's like looking for comps or properties just on the local MLS where that property won't be there, just be online at the brokerage. So that would be super interesting. I don't necessarily have any like actions except my main thought that comes up is that Zillow is probably going to be positioned well for that because everybody's going to be looking for properties on Zillow. But that's the initial thing that seems like it's happening. And that's so from people that know more
So,
than I are saying it's going that way.
so, so couple things here that I'm thinking. So
Mhm.
when you say that, is that because they're saying because they want to get away from because of the compensation rule for the
Yes.
buyer's agents, and so
Mhm.
they feel like what's the purpose of putting it up there?
I think that's
What's the added?
the main. I think that's the main
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah.
Okay. So one, I was gonna say, like, people have already been getting like, I've been getting pissed off with the MLS. So like, I don't have my brokerage. Well, I do. I'm still a licensed broker, but I don't do what I used to do with it. And back in the day, I was so fed up with the MLS and their rules about listing requirements and everything, that there's off branch at places that you can list your property, like different MLSs, multiple listing services, and yes, your website. And I know some people, like, in the chatter of agents locally, that were looking for ways to advertise properties without using the MLS. So I
Mhm.
do agree. I feel like this changes the game. Now, are you saying so? But Zillow, for a moment there, I thought you were saying that it would be harder for Zillow to aggregate stuff. But then I also thought at the end of that comment, you said Zillow's poised to do well from this. So can you clarify that?
It seems like from the people that were presenting and some people that like kind of already knew about it, we're saying Zillow is essentially going to have access to those listings to be able to have it on Zillow. So in theory, or the hypothesis is like Zillow is going to have more local data of properties available than a local MLS.
Yeah, I just wonder how they're going to aggregate that from individual websites, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I get what you're saying. I personally see a world like the MLS is nothing. Okay. Like, somebody can come on here and correct me if I'm wrong, but they only exist by choice of us choosing to put it there. There was no MLS back in the day. Somebody invented this service. They do well. It's a software like any other third party software. Um, so yeah, I think Zillow could solve it, but like I was saying before, I was always looking for another place to advertise my listing to get it out there. And there's a lot of that, even as a property manager. There's kind of like what investors use for their short-term rentals, where it pushes out to Airbnb and Verbo and booking.com and all that stuff. That's kind of the route I'm thinking. So it's kind of a hybrid of what you're saying, where if I put it on my
Mm-hmm.
website, maybe I'm going to have a software like a CampSpot or Renex. There's different short-term rental stuff. I put it on there and it shoots out to Zillow, Realtor.com,
Mm-hmm.
Truly, because let's be honest, that's really where we want it advertised.
Right.
So I see, like, they're becoming a software like that, where it's not the MLS, we're not bound by it. And I also think maybe Zillow and Realtor.com will allow us to individually just list our stuff there, not for sale by owner, but as an agent.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see. What it kind of feels like is if they go kind of that route where they just want to list their own stuff. It kind of feels like where we're at with the TV streaming services now. It's like, oh, I want to watch a local not local MLS. I want to watch the Ravens, but I need to get another thing for that. Oh, I want to watch
Yeah.
X team or whatever.
Yeah, no, I was just talking in a group chat with my family. My uncle said that the NFL is now auctioning off the holiday games to all the streaming services. So basically, you can't guarantee that on the holidays and all this, you'll be able to sit in front of your TV on Christmas or whatever day it is and watch a game, because you might not have the streaming service, and now you got to go buy that. And they've done that with Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
to have all these different things to watch it. I could see
No,
where
no,
you're going with that, and it's annoying. I just want to watch football, and here you are, like, I just want to look for properties. And the
exactly.
MLS was a great aggregate of it. And then, yes, it went out to Zillow, Realtor.com. Again, like, the MLS became so strict and with everything that they made you do. And it just, and I don't want to do that. Like, if I don't know why. I get it, because you could make this argument the other way. So here's my argument the other way for you. Your job is to operate in the best interest of the seller, not your buyer's agents, not the staff in your office.
Mm-hmm.
So if the best interest of the seller is to advertise it to the most people at the same amount of time, so everyone gets a fair shot to see it, so you could drive prices and offers up, why wouldn't you want to list it on the MLS?
I'm with you.
So, and
I'm
that's
with
the
you.
stance they've always taken. So they've made rules around that, which is what made it more strict. which is what started to bother me. But like, you could make an argument for that. Like, so you're not getting paid as much, or we're not asking you to compensate buyer's agents and they have to negotiate that outside of stuff. You're not the buyer's agent. You're working for the seller. So shouldn't you put it on the website that gets you the most traction?
Mm-hmm. You would think. Didn't we talk about one time, or haven't we heard or discussed like eventually people like buying and selling homes on Amazon? Did we bring that up at some point? I feel like it was like either Amazon or a Amazon-like thing where you could just be like looking at properties online, and it's kind of like that simple.
Now listen, I don't want to stray here because I want to get back to Family Mastermind.
Yeah, no, let's get to it. I only got one other main thing on Family Mastermind.
Well, I was going to say it's based on what we talked about last week, where I came up when we were talking about how I thought the real estate industry was going to go, and like blockchain and all that. Like, yes, I agree with you. I think that is where we go, and I think agents lose that. Once that exists, you lose the agent need for agents. For, again, the middle class, like the middle group of agents. You'll always need it for investors. You'll always need it for wealthy people because they value time over money saved. But I do feel you're accurate. I think there will be a something like that. But for now, I think agents will do what you're saying. They'll find a way to do it. But it's not hard to defend your commission. Like, if you think about it, like, it's something that like I always had to do. So one of the things you would always say to sellers, and this is just it, like, you want your 6% and split it with 3. Nobody is saying you can't do that. It's just not the standard anymore. And to be honest, most sellers have no idea what's going on anyway. Not everyone watches the news or stays privy to the NAR ruling, okay?
Yeah.
But you get value. You can ask them what, okay, one of the service that I'm providing you is my negotiating skill, correct? And you would say that's pretty important, wouldn't you? Well, yeah, I would say it's important. And so with this 6%, you're getting the best of my negotiating skill. Well, okay, yeah, I guess I am, but I still don't feel like, other people would do it for less. Okay, I totally understand. And you may want me to come down, and I could easily say I would come down, but that service that I'm providing you, when do you think you ever get to test drive it? Well, I don't know. Do you feel like you would want to know whether I'm a good negotiator to be able to fight for top dollar for you? And they'll probably say, well, yeah. I said, well, the first time you get to see me negotiate is right here with you. And if I'm so easily going to just say from 6% to 4%, what do you think will happen when somebody comes down instead of $200,000 for your house? They say 180. Do you think I'll be willing or able to fight as much for you? If I can't defend myself to you now, does that give you confidence that I'll be able to do it? And if I come down to 4% so quick now, what makes you think I won't just come down from 200 to 180? Why would you want to use an agent like that? And there's a lot of stuff that you could say, and that may not be a verbatim thing, but you could say something like that, and you'll get your 6%. You'll get your 6%.
That's going to land with some people for sure.
Anyway, those are my tips.
No, I like it.
I'm not an agent anymore, but that's what I would do, and that's what I used to have to do because I went down many times. So
I like it.
So what else you got from the Family Mastermind?
The main presentation, not super applicable unless anybody is like coaching, selling info products, events, stuff like that. A big thing in the industry is are people getting sued, not only in real estate investing, but people that have like Amazon shops. If you remember those runs of people selling the 30K automated Amazon stores, the main presentation was like an FTC compliance lawyer. And it was pretty grim because a lot of people in that mastermind sell some type of service, education, coaching program, real estate events in person. And a lot of them are going to have to redo a lot of their marketing materials or just aspects of their program that show anything about like the results that students got from like a monetary basis. I think we've talked about this a little bit before. So there's pretty much people just getting sued out the wazoo and losing those cases. If you say, for example, even if you have like an advertising, like Brandon signed up for my course, he was able to make 10K in the first 30 days. and then call to action to schedule a call with our team to talk about our program. Anything along those lines or anything that insinuates or points to that being a typical result, you can get sued for.
Okay, so there you go. So, in this comes with the whole. This is why I'm okay with regulation. I think wholesalers do it to them fucking self. Okay, like there's no love lost here because people don't think that the rules and laws apply. It's like when I go to raise money for something, like my attorney, like they review everything. I have to have certain things. The results are not typical. This is not a guaranteed. This
Yeah.
like there's verbiage, and you know what like wholesalers don't do in any of their ads or little fucking reel videos. They don't do that. They're just like, this guy made 50K. If you want to be like him, click my link. They don't think of the repercussions. It's the same thing that I've been saying about the audio recordings, which is highly illegal, and they're over here illegally recording people for their freaking live seller calls and stuff and podcasts and everything that they do. And about it.
Yeah.
Now, again, maybe some of them disclose ahead of time and they're not letting any of the YouTube audience or Instagram audience know, but that's not what it seems like. And I know personally some of them that don't. So, yeah, I could see where people would be upset with that. Going back to the e-com stuff. Yeah. Oh, this guy made this much, and and I'm assuming it's the same stuff, not just like, oh, Carlos made 30K, but it's just the reels of them showing the profit, right? Like just here's this, here's this, here's this. Oh, this guy made this much. Here's how much this store made. Here's how much this store made.
Yeah.
Here's how much this guy made wholesaling. So all of that has to stop. But if you add that language, though, and we're not attorneys, but I'm assuming if you add some kind of disclaimer, you would cover your butt.
It's best to not even have anything like that, like results wise. Like they're almost saying not to go there. There's certainly disclaimers, but I'm trying to think of the way to synthesize this. This is a 2.5 hour presentation with a lawyer and the guy Anik Single. But yeah, pretty much not having anything results based. And the best way of doing it is getting feedback throughout the whole duration of someone's coaching program, like from sign up, being able to get feedback from them the entire time of how well the course is going. A lot of disclaimers, exactly to your point, before signing up and as the course goes. Pretty much being extremely cautious of saying, like, results are atypical. Here's what you can expect. The people getting audited, which people were freaking out about, was I think it was like 35 pages of line items that if the FTC goes after you, you have to show. It was an insane. I think I have a list of it. It was literally an insane thing. It would be like a full-time job of 2 to 3 people of getting all this stuff. I think it's like the last 3 years of every single email correspondence, every single recorded call that you have. Imagine that, except 35 pages of bullet point items. It's honestly like it's insane. Honestly,
I mean, it all stems from the e-com and the stock trading stuff and all that stuff that everyone hopped on the bandwagon with, and of course they wanted to sell it, man, and that's why and Ryan and we talk about him over there always. And he made that post about like if they tried selling you e-com, if they tried selling you any of that stuff over the past few years or crypto or anything about how they were the expert in it, just run.
Yeah, that's definitely sage advice. But yeah, they're just being super protective. I mean, people should have common sense, you would think, but I even lap out with it. And I think we've mentioned on this show, and I know some people that did lose money on the e-com stores, but that did sound like super good. Like I was even watching like credible people that were doing it. I'm like, man, this doesn't sound too bad. It kind of makes sense. Like they build the store for you.
It makes sense until you sell it to the masses and flood a market and you just spam the shit out of it. It's the same thing that's happening to wholesaling. Everyone, it's easier to sell the pickaxes and the shovels than it is to do the work so that you make more money selling the dream than living the dream. So what do? They come in and they flooded it with e-com. There was only a matter of time before all that shit was going to backfire. They were selling stores left and right, flooding the market with products. Have you ever tried ordering anything from like a drop shipper? Right, you never get your package. Never get your fucking package. You always got it. And then the returns killed them. And then they got to handle that. I mean, some people, I know guys who were like trying to buy warehouses to handle stuff. They were, I mean, don't know how they're doing now.
Don't
But a
know.
lot of
But
them
yeah,
had
man,
to
that was yeah, everybody was like shook after that meeting. Like even a guy, I'm not gonna say, I won't say his name on air, but he has like 30 back end products. Like he has a low ticket lead magnet, like $97 one time fee, something like that. And his back end for all his coaching, he's been around a long time. One of his products is called like the Millionaire Blueprint or something like that. So that's a perfect example of you cannot have that in the title. Like it might be able to get away, but it's just safer per this lawyer. You can't have something that says Millionaire Blueprint where it's assumptive that if this person follows the steps in that $300 course, they're going to become a millionaire. Like that's
Yeah,
how specific it gets. Like you to like people are going to have to rewrite their entire like coaching and go back through YouTube videos and all
it's
types of
like
stuff.
I agree with you, and I agree with this. I think the big thing, it's so it's just our nature, right? So that the whole culture of give me this for free, give me this. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
bro, you got your contract. Let me get a copy of your contract. Let me get your copy of your assignment. Oh, bro, give me this. Oh, dude, what is it? Abundance mindset and all this
Mm-hmm.
bullshit, right? It's the same thing. Our industry has trained people to not want to have to go spend the money like a real business and go hire an attorney to go and make sure all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, that your title, your ads, everything is legal, and having somebody on your team that you could go to be like, hey, we're gonna run a commercial that says something like, and you learn as you go from your attorney about what's allowed, not allowed. They review stuff, all that. But that's not how it is. It's like our industry is so allergic to even hiring an attorney for a contract, but yet we expect to make $100,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
like 50K a month, 100 grand, quarter million, but you want to use somebody's 2-page contract that you got from a Facebook group. And I say this because I've seen 3 posts this week so far with people begging people to send them a copy of a contract and an assignment agreement in the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I'm like, bro, like, just hire somebody, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and that's how it is. And you need to hire. And if you do that, you won't get in trouble because then you have an attorney that says, hey, you shouldn't make an advertisement that says that, hey, your documents for this shouldn't say that. Or, hey, in your contract with your new customer, you should have like 5 pages of disclaimers that like cover you if the worst thing happens. I'll charge you $1,000 or $2,500 to draw this up for you. And hey, on your website, you should also have a disclaimer area that I can write up for you and I'll charge you X amount. And you know what? Then you're covered. But people don't have that.
If someone wanted to go up to the live, because I still see people that do it, I don't know every day, but I see it at least once a week. People that do the live calls with sellers. If a lawyer really wanted to drum up some money, like that was trying to generate business, they would just find all those people doing live calls and then find out. I don't know how they would find out who they're on the phone with, but just say, like, hey, here's a record conversation on this YouTube channel.
Wouldn't it be hard if an attorney wanted to do it? Once you know who the person is, it's not hard. Like, you take any one of them, they say their company name. From the company name, it wouldn't be hard to follow what closings they do on the rest of their posts. I mean, some of them don't hide the closings and stuff like that. And you could
Mm-hmm.
see, all you need is one HUD, one picture of a HUD that everyone swears you have to post to prove that you're legit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could backtrack into that. I mean, I don't feel like it would be rocket science at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, moral of that story: use a lawyer
All it takes
for.
is one guy to hear his own voice on YouTube.
Yeah,
Somebody's
seriously.
family, somebody's family going, wait a second, Dad, isn't that you?
That would be so crazy. Literally so crazy.
I mean, I think there could be a lot of stuff, but yeah, that's interesting. I bet that was a very important topic at that because that's
Yeah.
family mastermind is all about. It's all about the. I'm not going to say guru, but the
Guru.
influencer, teacher,
Yeah.
instructor. Yeah, I just saw 2 new people that I follow that are now becoming gurus. And they
Oh
always
yeah.
start off with this line: hey, I have some free time. I'm thinking about taking on 2 people this month, or whatever it is, right? to teach them and help them get to whatever their pitch is, to scale to 2 deals a month, or to make X amount, or to get your first deal, or whatever the pitch is. They always say that I'm looking for 2 people, or I have time to help 2 people. And every time I see them, like, and that's their start. That's the drug. That's the gateway drug for influencer. And then you get 1 or 2 people jump from your following. Next thing you know, you're going in deep on training. So I'm going way off topic here, but now that we're on it, it boggles my mind that people want to be influencers. And people are going to be like, Brandon, you're just a fucking hater. No, I'm not. Because I started doing research and I thought about this. And it was ever since, who was it? Kent Clothier said the worst decision he ever made was to become a coach or a teacher of real estate, because he could have been a lot wealthier by doing everything that he's done with this. He could have been a billionaire a couple times over if he just focused on his business. So I started researching and I was like, okay, am I right or wrong? Because I want to make sure that my judgments are of sound logic. Who would you say your number one, if you had to pick somebody who held conferences, your number one, like your top of your head, the biggest conference event hoster name in the business? Not real estate, just in the world. Like if you had to name one person who's been hosting events the longest and is the biggest name in events, who comes top of mind?
Tony Robbins.
Okay, Tony Robbins. And if you had to think of somebody in the real estate industry who is the original OG coach, who everyone has read either their book or took in a course or something, like focuses on real estate, who's the number one book or coach in real estate? What do you think the number one beginner book would be in real estate in that coach?
Coach, I'm biased. I think Sean Terry, but book would be like Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, so I take Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Tony Robbins, and I say all these fucking gurus want to brag about how rich they are and how they want to be like Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, and they want to be the billionaires, and they're always talking about the 8-figure, 9-figure, 10-figure club, and I'm in the 100. So I looked and I said, well, this is a lot of time. Do you know Tony Robbins spent his entire life becoming a guru coach? He is hands down the best at what he does. And people can argue about that, but the best. And that's his sole business. His only life purpose up until, and he has other investments now, but his only life purpose was coaching, events, masterminds, whatever you want to call it. He is only worth $600 million. And I say only because he has spent his life mastering one thing and meeting the best people. And he is now, I don't know his age, but what is he? Like 60, 70? I was going to say 70.
60s.
Let's do this. It was worth a Google because this is important. 64 years old. He's 64 years old and he's $600 million. And that's from doing one thing exceptionally well to where the world knows his name. Robert Kiyosaki, his net worth is only $100 million.
Is it really?
Yes.
Those are surprisingly low.
Okay. So, exactly. So it boggles my mind when everyone talks about how they want to hit the $1 billion, the 3 comma club, and they want to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but yet the choice they make for their effort is in coaching the most niche industry out there. Now, keep in mind, Tony Robbins, no niche, just business, life coach. Robert Kiyosaki, no niche. The entire thing is real estate, assets versus liabilities. And here we're sitting here going, I'm going to make so much fucking money. I'm going to teach people how to wholesale an SMS, or I'm going to teach you how to cold call. And you think that that's the business you want to dump your, and so I go back to Ken when he said the worst decision I ever made was this. So that's my problem with the whole thing, is there, it's a contradiction of what people say and do to then the choices that they make, right? Like in their business. And it's like, well, if you really wanted to be wealthy, why would you ever want to coach? Well, I want to give back. Well, if you wanted to give back, I don't think it should be for free, but then you would donate 100% of the profits from your masterminds and events to some type of charity if you really were doing it because you had an abundance mindset. But it's a crock of shit and it's a contradiction. And if the two in the industry still combined aren't billionaires, how did these people think that they're going to become billionaires when they're stretching their time between wholesaling, investing, masterminds, coaching, and they say they'll build a team? You don't think Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki had teams? And Robert Kiyosaki, from what I researched, actually sold the coaching part of the business off, and his net worth is mostly from his real estate holdings at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I wanted to share that.
No,
that was interesting.
That's insightful. I'm with you too. It's an interesting paradox though, because one, we could probably think that the guru or the teacher market for wholesaling is probably saturated. Like there's more teachers than there needs to be. Same thing with wholesalers, probably more wholesalers than there needs to be. It's a little bit of a paradox because people want coaches that are still actively doing the business or close to the day-to-day of a wholesaling business. But at the same time, if you're doing real estate, like one has to be taking away from the other to a certain extent. Like if you're not doing real estate full-time and you're coaching full-time, you're going to lose that degree of separation from what today's wholesaling or real estate looks like, and vice versa. If you're coaching or if you're real estate the whole time, you're not going to have coaching. So I think like we talked about before, a lot of people probably do it out of necessity for like a hedge in their business. Like if they have a few rough months of wholesaling or whatever, that's an easy.
It's an easy add-on.
Dude,
it's an easy add-on.
Another presentation, dude, talking about all this stuff. One of the Fortune Builders guys was there. They've sold probably $1 billion of coaching, over 500 million at least that they presented on coaching. There's tons of people that have came through Fortune Builders program. So in saying that, it's like they know the money is there, but
there's a sucker born every day, dude. And most of them won't be good. You'll have a percentage of success and you'll have a percentage of failure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
it's a lot of them started out of a like a little hedge for their business.
I agree with that. Like it's easy to add on, but like if you and I can draw from so many different people, but it's that Hormozi comment. And I think if we go back in my podcast, my statements in our podcast, you'll hear me talk about like what made my decision to like realign my focus. And it was like when Hormozi was talking to a guy who had like all these different businesses and they were all doing well. And he had asked him, he was like, do you think you could take any one of them to like, and I forget it was like $100 million. And he was like, yeah, and he's like, if you had the time, could you take one to like 100? And the guy's like, yeah. And Hormozi is like, well, why don't you? Mm-hmm. Instead of having a bunch of like $1 million companies, if you have one that you like, why don't you? And so that's the thing. It's like, I know I could scale my mobile home parks. I know I could scale my software and stuff. Like, why am I going to spend my time building a sales team and coaching and, and like having a product and all that? And it's, unless I need the money, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like you're sacrificing for money now what your future could hold.
There's some fulfillment in there too.
Shots.
No, there is, but
there is and there isn't. There is and there isn't. So I know a guy who, and I no issues with Brent Daniels and what he's doing. He's a phenomenal. He gives a lot of value. But like when you sign on for these big guys, like, and I know a guy who's doing like went to the Brent Daniels thing and all that stuff. And any one of these people, they have a team. Like I'm a part of Eric Brewer's thing. I'm not talking to Eric Brewer. Okay. He has people that hop on his weekly thing. Yes, he's nothing against Eric because he'll chime in, he'll hop on every once in a while. He does his part for his brand and he's very good and he's helped a lot of people with novations. But I'm not talking to Eric every Wednesday. I'm not texting Eric at night, help me out with this novation. Now listen, you mentioned it in the Facebook group, maybe you grab his attention and he'll grab and help one or so that he can as his time permits. But otherwise, guess who handles it? His team. Same with Pace Morby. All these guys, you're dealing with their team. So yeah, there's fulfillment, but there was also a time before it became trendy to be a guru. And it's how I learned. I met somebody locally who took an interest in me. I provided value for them, and I was able to pick up a phone and ask for advice, and they coached me. And they met me at properties, and I helped them. I did stuff for them. You know what I mean? I found them deals, but he mentored me. Same thing with another mentor of mine. Like, that's how it was, and I didn't pay them a dime. They would take me out to lunch. I'd take them out to lunch. We'd sit down. We'd talk. I just had a phone call with one guy the other day, and I progressed so much. He was asking me my advice on something particular to what I knew that he didn't. And it was like, cool. Like, I could finally, like, I'm at a point now after like 15 or 14 years. This guy that taught me a lot of what I know, like, I'm now giving advice. And there was never a compensation. I never took a course. He never said, here, go watch these videos. He just picked up his phone, and I picked up my phone, and it was local, and I found somebody local who would do that. I met somebody. And I feel like that's gone because everything's for a price now. You want an hour of my time? How much? How much will you pay me to hop on a call? $2,000. I hopped on a call with someone and they insisted on paying me, and I was like, no. Like, I had the time. I was willing to hop on a call and talk to you. I don't need you to pay me for my time. If I did, I would just not hop on the call with you. You know, like, that's my attitude is like, if I'm so busy, I got to charge you for a call. Probably just should be doing the other stuff that I should be doing.
Preach.
And so I don't know. I think that's what we need to go back to. You take an interest in somebody and you help them out. You help the next generation out.
And make that and house phone schools again, home phone school again. But I think it's the connected age, right? Because like people talk about this in other areas outside of like coaching and things like that, but it's also like you have access to so many wholesaling people. Like, for example, like if you live in Florida, but like you said that you like Brent Daniels or you like Eric Brewer or whoever, it's like you're not tied to just your local market. So that the thought of other people are available. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the rub, right? Because they're available to you. Guess what? Look at it from the other end. These people now have so many people wanting them available. So I forget who it was, but I had heard somebody say initially they started doing it for free and just helping people. And it became so overwhelming, the demands from people, the angriness when they wouldn't help and blah, blah, blah. And all they wanted to do was give back. So the only way they could was to create their course and to simplify it, streamline it, make it automated. And then to weed people out, they had to start charging for their time because otherwise everyone just felt they deserved the information from this person because they were on social media talking about this business. And they said that it was overwhelming to a point where they were like just broken down because they couldn't help these people as they wanted to. And the only logical solution was to create that. And I expect because talking to people, and it's like, I'm just a different person where I'll just be like, fuck you. Like, I don't need to help you. Leave me the F alone. Like, I don't have time for you. But some people have that need where they want to make time. And so how do you do it? You charge, you do all of this. I think saying no is a better solution. You focus on your business and you help the next generation where you can when you take interest in somebody. You don't need to help 5,000 people. And if you really wanted to do it for the abundance mindset, you would donate. There's no reason why you couldn't donate the profits of your training to charity if you truly don't need the money because you're successful in your other businesses.
Or put everything
run it as a nonprofit. I don't agree with the free. I don't agree with the free. I've done that. I've given stuff for free, and I feel like they just collect it. And like you'll touch base with someone, how'd that work for you? And they're like, oh yeah, I never really got around to it. It's like, well, bro, why'd I share that with you? Like, dude, you know how long that took me to like learn and put that together, and you don't give a shit? It's because it was free. So I think you should charge because that weeds the people out. I think there has to be an entry fee to success into business, but I also feel like either admit that you need the money and this is the reason why you're doing it, or if you don't need the money, then donate the fucking money to charity. But your actions need to align with your words is all I'm trying to say.
Preach. Make local mentors and house phones cool again.
Doesn't have to be local, bro. Like you could go to a meetup and you dig somebody and you're like, man, that's a young guy. Like I'd really like to help. And just give me a call. Like, I'll help you over. Like, doesn't need to be local, but that concept can still exist in today's industry and
Yeah.
world.
And you know what's so funny is like now I'm just thinking of it. Like I feel like some of the people that I've just talked to over the years that have that kind of relationship where they just met like an old head at a local RIA and got so much expertise, those people have such good, like, just happy businesses and enjoy their relationships and everything like that. Like I feel like that's so many people. It's not as common as today, or we don't hear about it if it's a local person that's not like online and on
Yeah.
social media and stuff.
It's just wild, man. It's like, oh, you want to meet up with me at a house? I'm gonna rent this house, and you're gonna sit down with me. I'm gonna for one night for 2 hours. I saw someone advertising a dinner for fucking $5,000 a seat at the table at dinner,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, holy fuck, dude! Like,
Oh yeah.
I get it. It's just more ways to generate revenue. But again, if you're so good at business, I don't see everyone's example. Do you think Jeff Bezos isn't charging people to come sit down at dinner? He only sits down with people that they provide mutual value to. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure he has a couple people he mentors that he brought up through his company and advised and all that. And I'm sure he didn't charge him $5,000. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see. And that's just the thing. Real business owners, like, that's not what they're doing. But in
Yeah.
this day and age, social media, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a cost. The highest bidder wins.
Mm-hmm.
We've
100%.
monetized it. So
We have Baltimore, man. I was sitting in the gym early one morning and saw it on the TV at the Grand Hyatt Inn
yeah,
Hotel
that's wild,
in
bro.
Tampa. That was
That's wild.
crazy.
I don't know. I mean, I just read a report that said for 2 minutes the VDR or whatever, like the version of their black box between 1:24 and like 1:26 a.m. their black box was shut offline, and that
There
shouldn't happen.
are conspiracies of cyber attack on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, could not be. I don't know. I just find it very coincidental. It hit the right in the middle. Like, that's where it went to. I don't.
Yeah. Super sad though. Super sad. Anybody
It
that
is.
for all those that passed away missing. Luckily, if you want to look at it on the bright side, it
Luckily,
was
it
late
was
at
at
night. Just workers.
yeah,
Yeah.
1:30 in the morning. You could make the argument that the only people going over that were people who were probably out late partying or doing something they shouldn't have been doing, and you know.
Yeah. So it could have been a lot worse if it was 5 o'clock on a Thursday
Yeah,
afternoon.
school buses going to
Mm-hmm.
school. Like, you can't. Yeah. Anyway, so we haven't really talked about seller finance buyers at all. So hopefully, if anyone stuck around for 52 minutes,
On the edge of their seat for that. For seller finance buyers.
they're
There's
like,
Wade Harris.
they're just shooting the shit for 50 minutes. Are they ever going to talk about seller finance buyers? Wow, Brandon's been bitching a lot about gurus. Like, when that was 10 minutes, when am I getting to the seller what I logged in for? I bring this up so I have an executed agreement now, so like I could say it, but so I'm buying another park, and it's from
Oh
a
yeah.
wholesaler, and I battled in my mind of how to do this. So he's a good dude. Got forwarded it from friend of the podcast, Tyler. He sent me an email. I had known this guy before, but I guess I wasn't on his email thing. Long story short, had a park, and I'm like, cool, dude, I'm down. Like, let's do this. Hop on a call with him. And he didn't really. It's a mobile home park, so it's not the same as a house. So things need to be done a certain way. And so his contract wasn't really lining up for how to do a closing for a mobile home park. And I had a choice. And I was like, man, like, I know it was a good deal. It's a low down. You're getting it in for $150K down payment on a fully amortized 30-year loan. He did a great job negotiating the terms. And I told him as much. I was like, bro, you negotiated this yourself? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, you did a great job, man. Like, these are phenomenal terms. Like, you should be very proud. Like, getting a fully amortized loan, even though I'll probably refinance, it's still nice to know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like, the closings and inspection and everything was just, it was like a house. It was just too fast. And I was like, okay. I was like, man, like, I know everyone's going to want this deal. And I was like, so I could lie to this guy, get it signed, lock it down, and then present to him that, hey, I'm not going to be able to close you on time. You need to go redo this, this, and this. Or I could tell him the truth and try to walk him through everything. So, what do you think Brandon does?
The universe keeps score, so I know what Papa P does.
Yeah. So I go and I walk him through everything, and I talk to my attorney first, like my one who handles like my LLCs, and I was like, "Can we get everything set up like in this time frame?" And she was like, "I don't think. I mean, one, yeah, I could put a rush on it, but blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Okay." And I talked to one of my buddies who's going to help me put the money in together for everything, and he's like, and I'm like, "Okay." So I call this guy, and I'm like, "Listen, man, like I can't close you on time." And he let me walk through this with you. And so I did. And I said, I would love to be able to close you on your time frame, but here are my concerns. And like I would still sign, and I had the assignment signed in a draft email ready to click the send button. And I was like, I would do this right now if you could get the seller on the phone that says you'll just do this addendum extension, this date and this date. If you could do that, man, like all I need is a verbal from you, and I'll trust you enough to send this over and go. Just give me a verbal that he'll be okay with it. And he goes, well, and this is the wholesaler comes out. Well, I have a lot of people, like I have a cash buyer that says they could close on time, and and I'm like, listen, dude, if you have a cash buyer that says they could close you on this, like, I don't believe it, but I mean, then you got to sell it to him, right? Like, you don't want to risk your assignment fee. I get it. I think that's what I'm going to do. He said it's just he'll sign and he's going to sign it and close me, and it's no big deal, everything I gave him. And I just was selling it to you because I talked to you first, and I respect that. I'm like, listen, man, like, I totally get it. Long story short, do what you got to do. And so he's like, well, I think I could get the extension. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I guarantee the guy will say yes to it. That shouldn't be a problem. And, like, I really want to work with you in the future. So I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I'll let you know tomorrow. So I had thought that, like, I had this pretty much like we were going to work together. Anyway, long story short, cash buyer. I call him back the next day because I hadn't heard from him. He's like, oh, man, I'm sorry. I thought you understood. I was just going to sell it to the cash buyer.
It slipped his mind to call you back and let you know one way or the other.
Yeah. I was like, oh. I go, that's disappointing. I was like, I guess I just misunderstood when you said that you could get the extension, blah, 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 whatever. So this was a week ago. The reason why I wanted this as a topic is because a full week has come by and I see it on Facebook. So I message him. I'm like, hey, man, I see this posted on Facebook. As we all know, I peruse Facebook for deals 24/7. Went live 5 minutes ago. Is it still available? Immediately responds back to me. He's like, yeah, I was going to call you. That was a post that I submitted to the Facebook group. They just finally reviewed it and approved it. I'll call you in a little bit. Calls me. You want to know what happened? The cash buyer lied to him, dragged him along, never signed the assignment, went to the park and told him he needed an extension, needed more time on closing, all the stuff that I was up front with, and all of that. And the guy just basically dragged this kid along for like another week and then said all the stuff that I was going to say, but he just wanted to, like typical cash buyer guy, right? Like lie. And how many times I had it happen on a deal recently. They took us all the way up to closing. It was down in Texas. I was JVing with somebody on a house, and the guy basically took us to the day before closing. It was like, I'm not going to close if you don't do this, this, and this. And I want a reduction. And it's like, you hate when that happens, and I don't want to do that to people. So I'm just upfront. Well, this guy wasn't. So long story short, I talked it over with the wholesaler again, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to sell it to you. And I was like, dude, here's what we need. And so I walked through it with him, and I coached him on like how to do a mobile home park transaction. And here's what to say to the seller and blah, blah, blah. So we have successfully gotten our extension. I've signed the assignment.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. Like when you're selling a seller finance, right? Like it's wild. Like think about that, Carlos. Was that not like, could you not see that coming with a cash buyer closing a mobile home park in less than 30 days with less than 20 days in due diligence?
Like, and how much was the park roughly? Where it's like someone wouldn't need
Uh,
to raise funds and they just have it available.
no. So you could potentially have 150K available and buy it.
Oh, okay. Got you. Never
It's a
mind.
down payment. It's seller finance.
Got you.
So it was
I thought
150K.
got you. I thought it was the buyer was coming in, or the person that was probably another wholesaler or daisy chainer was saying he has like the entire cost of the park, not just the down payment.
I'm sure maybe it was a wholesaler, maybe it was a flipper, maybe it was a regular buy and hold guy, maybe it's a park owner. I don't know that.
Mhm.
But anybody who does parks knows you're not closing a park in less than 30 days, regardless of financing or cash or whatever.
Houses are even hard
Two,
to close in 30 days.
yeah, and it's like, and I think the real time frame was like a 34 days was left on his contract from what it was, and I think 21 days on due diligence, if I'm trying to be exact. But it's 35 lots. You have all these tenants. You have to verify stuff. You need a survey. You need all this shit, right? And then the other thing was there's not a lot of wiggle room between the term he negotiated. Like I'm going to be in negative leverage, right?
Mhm.
Which I normally would never do, but it's I mean, he did a phenomenal job negotiating this deal. I can't give him credit. He did a good job. So I was like, okay. And I told him this, and I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I understand you're in a negative leverage. You don't want to be in that situation, but I'm going to raise enough money to pay the mortgage for a year without having to worry about defaulting because I can't do it with this. And the cash buyer didn't think about that, right? Like they think 150, I'll do it. And then all of a sudden they start realizing all these things. And then now they want to drag him along and give him a laundry list of things that they need to move forward. Whereas I was just upfront with them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you could bring the 150, but then when you're making your mortgage payment every month, like, and you don't have enough rent collected and you got to start dumping in 20K, fix up a mobile, buy a mobile, do this, kick a tenant out, repair it. Where do you think that money's coming from? You got to have that too. Otherwise you default on your deal. And I was like, and so that's the thing as a seller finance wholesaler, you have to make sure that your buyer has planned for what the house or the pet needs. And I tried to do my best to walk this guy through what my plans were so he knew I was a serious person that he could trust a seller finance deal with because I'm the one going to be making the payments. Whereas the seller thinks this kid's going to be the one buying it and making the payments. So you need someone who's going to play ball with you, who's not going to blow your deal up, who's going to be okay signing and paying for your assignment fee, right? Like all of these things. And most importantly, is not going to default on the loan and have a seller calling you thinking that you're the one not making the payments. Although you've already collected your fee, it's still your reputation on the line. And so that was what I wanted to say. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
It makes sense. Honestly, it's sounding like just more variables going on than a single family. If you're selling it to the same type of buyer in a single family deal, like they're still gonna like if something goes wrong, like any type of major repair goes wrong with the house, like the buyer has to either have funds or come out of pocket with it in some shape, shape, or form. So it's the same thing with the mobile, except just a ton more stuff going on. And it's funny that we were talking about coaching guru and stuff like that, where sometimes you're forced into that position. So the operators that are being real estate operators or mobile home park operators the whole time, you're coaching people, but it's more so just to get your deals across the finish line or get access to deals. So it's funny and ironic. We were talking about coaching and stuff, but it's really, that's how you were able to get this deal. And karma, again, that we talk about a lot on the show, is like, it came back to you where you had to hit them up.
Yeah, and I didn't think it would. I didn't think it would.
Yeah.
And the Facebook thing was a fluke because he said they just surprisingly and that's how that group works. Like you have to submit it, they approve it, and then they post it for you.
Yeah. But you told him he did good stuff too. Like he negotiated good terms. Like
he did.
He's obviously novice on the disposition and understanding, all the things a buyer would need and be responsible for in depth. But luckily he ran into you. You're able to coach him through it. Seemed like you're pretty chill about it. Hopefully gets across the finish line.
Thing. I mean, in between you and me, it's 6 miles down the road from my other park. So this puts me, when I saw this, I was like, holy shit, dude. I was like, come on. Like, and that's every park owner's dream is like proximity. Everything's right there. And because when you go to sell it later on, you can start packaging things. And when you package a deal, like, it becomes more valuable to package 100 units versus 60 or 30, right?
Mhm.
So it just raises the value overall. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I look for. And I remember, I've done a couple of them now with wholesalers, and it's like you kind of learn, like, wholesalers, because of the deal that he negotiated, it was so good.
Mhm.
Everybody's going to want it. Your job is to figure out who is the best person to do it, because once you F up and you pick somebody, once you pick somebody and if it F's up, you're done. You could lose
Mhm.
your entire deal because you told this guy, easy peasy, you finance this, I don't need to go to a bank. What's your excuse for not being ready to close? You can't, there's nothing. You don't need to raise money. It's supposed to be, I mean, really, it's 75 down. He's making 75K, which is cool. Like, bro, I
The
don't
wholesalers,
yeah, he negotiated great. It's 75K down payment.
he's gonna get spoiled on these deals. He's making
Yeah,
a
I
good
know.
lick on this
I
one.
know. Phenomenal, and good for him. Good for
Yeah,
him. I
hey,
talked to him.
I'm not
Yeah.
knocking it. I'm just saying he's gonna be spoiled moving forward.
And he did the right thing. So that's another thing. He was very upfront with his assignment fee. When he sent me the second email of our communication, he broke down his assignment fee, my down payment, all that. And I saw it and I chuckled. I was like, but he earned it. He 100%
Mhm.
earned it with his
Good.
negotiating. But you could weed people out that way, and that's the concern too, is a lot of these buyers who aren't okay with wholesalers or with the way they'll drag you on and put you under contract the day before closing, right? They could be like, I'm not okay paying that assignment fee. I just won't close you. Like, you could take my $5,000 deposit unless you're
Mhm.
willing to cut it back. And what do? What do you do? I tell you what every wholesaler does is they cut their fee. And I've gotten into arguments with JV people before where one person basically told me that I forget the wording, but pretty much told me that I shouldn't stand on agreements or else I won't make much money in this business, was the gist of it. And I was
Hmm.
like, bro, I've been doing this for fucking 13 years. And he's like, I've been doing it for 20. I'm like, obviously
Sweet.
you suck at it. If you're still doing wholesaling after 20 fucking years, bro, like, you need something's wrong, dude. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. But that was the thing, and that's like, I've and I know other wholesalers where I'm like, F you, I'll just buy it myself or something.
Mhm.
But for somebody making 75K, what do? The other thing is like, somebody comes back and has an issue with the closing date or inspection, and they got you over a barrel. So you have to find somebody that's going to be honest with you, that's going to be upfront with you, that's okay with your assignment fee. So be upfront with them about it. You don't want to try to hide it on something like this, especially if it's that large. You want to make sure they're cool with it, because once you sign somebody and you waste your due diligence and stuff, like, what are you going to do? And so ideally in a situation like this, you want someone who's going to tell you their plans. You don't want them hiding stuff.
Mhm.
And I know on both of them, like, you just, if you start hiding stuff, like, it's just a bad indication of what else that person's willing to do
Right.
throughout the deal. And
Very true.
you want to trust them to talk to the seller, that they're not going to put you on blast. You want to trust that they're going to make the payments and that they have a good plan for the park or the asset. Um, and ideally, and this kid did not vet me. I mean, I guess he did because we know some of the same people, but you want to make sure you vet the person, that they have the experience in this asset class of whatever it is that you're doing. Um, I mean, everyone needs their first shot, but like,
Yeah. Well, he got referred through a known and trusted
a
source.
known, and I
It's
know
not.
somebody
It's not
else.
like
Yeah.
it's not like you just hit him up off the Facebook page originally. Like you
Yeah,
re-engage him from there. But
exactly. And it's funny because I know some of the people in the Facebook page that are wholesalers that DM'd that they want info on his deal. And I was like, because I know one guy's always daisy chaining me deals in Facebook. And I laughed and I told my wife, I was like, so and so, and I said this, I'm not going to say his name, but I was like, he was all over this deal. I was like, I bet it was only going to be a matter of time before I got a Facebook DM with a new deal that he has, and it's the one that I'm looking, because he did it to me twice this past week, where he's like, I'm in line on this one, man. What do you think? And I'm like, man, that deal sounds really familiar. And I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, that's this one that's listed on the MLS with this agent that I already talked to, and he
That's so
lied, and
funny.
he's like, I've done countless due diligence on this, and we have all the records, and I'm like, cool. And when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, it's that part. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't, bro. The previous buyer that backed out did it all, and the agent's giving all of that to everybody. So like he's already lying to me, and he's a
Mm-hmm.
daisy chainer, and it's like that's the problem is you don't know who's
Mm-hmm.
going to be the one getting your deal. So you got to make sure you vet them.
Mm-hmm. 100%. It's good insight.
Yeah, it's just I felt bad. I did not think it was coming back to me. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
That's how it
I hoped
works.
it would, and I was kind of upset with myself. I'm like, damn, I should have just lied. I got it under contract, put my deposit, and then like waited, and then be like, I need an extension, and I was like, my wife's like, that's just not who you are. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, but we probably would have gotten the deal, but still got it.
Hell yeah. Love it, man.
Worked out. So
Love it,
excited
man.
for it. So that's another one. Closing in May, seller finance. And I think it's funny because people all the time and you could probably relate to this, especially with all the masterminds you go to and the people you hang out with. When I call people and agents asking for seller finance terms, they laugh at me, telling me, yeah, if that was available, it'd already be sold. Good luck trying to find seller finance. Everybody wants it,
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. And it's like wholesaling, right? Like, yeah, good luck finding good deals in this market. Like, good luck finding 30K spreads in this market. Good luck finding a deal at 50 cents on the dollar in this market. And it's like, they're out there if you just keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, dude. So,
Agreed, man. Well, dude, pumped for you on that. You're rolling along here.
yeah. What, keep going, dude. Keep going. Seller finance. That's all. You got any questions on the seller finance buyer stuff, or you think we did a good job of that?
I think we did a good job on that. The insight was cool. I would love to see an inside office cam of Papa P on some of these calls. It would be pretty funny.
You should have seen it on the call when I go, oh, that's
Oh, you
just
found a buyer. You
It's
didn't
like,
want to let me know.
I know.
It
I was
is
like,
funny. Just sales, just on that is funny on sales follow ups where it's like you did such a good job. Maybe you spent more time with them. You really dug into their business. Hey, you're setting framing up the call. Hey, I know you're deciding between us and some other options. I'm going to have follow ups in place where I'm using my time to like follow up with you the next few weeks. If you decided to go another way, could you at least let me know? What do you think happens most of the time? Sometimes they do. Majority, I'm just gonna do my thing. Ghost this guy.
yeah. And if you don't follow up, you'd never hear. And like, I don't blame him. Listen, he did tell me he had a cash buyer.
Yeah, which makes
There was
sense
a
for him.
misunderstanding.
Dude, it's such a
I
high,
thought, yeah.
and it's such a high stakes game too. Like when you were talking about the part where he's like, or you were telling him like, hey, I get it. Like you gotta, if he messes that deal up, he's losing out on 75K. So it's a high stakes poker game of making sure your hand is clean.
And that's the rub though, isn't it? Is like you want to assign it quickly because you're running out of time and somebody says they'll do whatever. They'll just your dream come true. I'll do whatever. And that's usually the indication that something's not right. And that's my advice is find someone who's willing to talk through things as a team with you. Because on creative finance, you're a team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like you don't want to lose the 75. What if Brandon, need this extension? I call the seller and he's like, F you. No, now I don't want to sell it at all. And because Brandon made me call and now I lost the deal. Also, this buyer could get his extension. I should have just went. And so I get it. Like you don't want to mess the deal up. 75K is a huge, people would kill for a 75K assignment fee. And you don't want to lose that. But you pick the wrong buyer, you could lose it. But we'll get it done. I'm going to head out there next week. Probably on Saturday. I'll drive out there. Check it out. I got to check on the other one anyway. So
pumped on that. It'll be April next show. Crazy.
It will be April next show. We got Easter this weekend. You got any plans?
Happy Easter. I'm gonna be here. I didn't realize it was Easter this weekend until I was in an HVAC meeting this morning. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they brought it up. They said Happy Easter. Are we allowed to say that? I go, you absolutely are.
Yeah, dude. Happy Easter, bro. I know it's everyone's. Everybody. Their stuff. Did you see Did you see my man Trump got his bond reduced?
I saw some. I don't know if I saw that, but I saw some like net worth post that he got a
Bro,
now his net worth
I
is high. I didn't see the
how
bond thing
about
that
how
you
about
sent
that?
through.
How about me talking shit on Trump's net worth last week? And then 1 week later, he sells he makes a deal for his Truth Social
Social media or
media
something.
group or
Yeah.
whatever. Yes, his media group. And now he adds what, $6 billion of net
Mhm.
worth? I was dying. I was like, bro, I gotta talk to Carlos about it. I was literally talking shit on this guy not raising his net worth his whole life. And here he's like tripled it in a matter of a week since the last time we talked. I think it's $6 billion. He's got like a 6-month lockup, but like, good for him, man. Like,
Mhm.
just business wise, like it just proves. And so here's my validation is like why I went into tech and I'm building what I'm building, as I was like, real estate and tech. There you go.
Mhm.
His real estate guy made $2 billion in real estate, and now overnight, what? No, not overnight. 2 years, 3 years. That was like 2020. So 4 years now since Truth Social came out. He's now $6 billion net extra. So he's now 8 Billy, and he
Not
finally
shabby.
cracked Forbes 500 billion time in his life. I heard,
Not too shabby.
but Patrick Bet David did an interview with his attorney. I'm in a couple pieces on that. I'm dying to finish this thing. I think it's
Love
very
TBD.
intriguing listening to that point of view, to kind of get a one-sided version of the truth. Obviously, it's not the whole truth. There's always two sides to a story, but listening to what's been going on, I think that's a good watch. You should definitely hop onto that one.
Definitely. I was catching randomly just because it was my YouTube algorithm. Stephen A. Smith, the ESPN sports guy, on Patrick Bet David.
I didn't see that.
That was
I
good.
like
He
Patrick.
really.
I like his stuff. He does good.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
I like
crushes
him
it.
because he says what the like. I remember one podcast where like he was arguing with someone on his show because he asked him a question and the guy wouldn't take a stance on yes or no. He was wishy-washy, and Patrick Bet David lit him up. Like, no, if
Mhm.
I ask you, you say yes, or you say either this A or B. Don't be like, oh, it could be A, but could be B, but
Mhm.
maybe A, but then also B. And I was like, oh, dude, this guy doesn't
That
take no
happens a lot
shit.
with him. Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't accept only yes or no's.
Yeah, I like him. I like his podcast. But I thought that was interesting. So Trump's gonna come through with that. Um, and Pulse of the Week, fucking P Diddle, bro. P
He
Diddler.
is. He.
Who would
Yeah.
have
The
thought
diddler. He just
that?
escaped the country. It looked like,
I
didn't
don't
he?
know.
Yeah, he flew
Well,
somewhere like Antigua or something that doesn't have.
supposedly yes, and then I read so lately at the gym, the club, like when I go to, they have TVs everywhere, and so they've been playing Fox News. So I'm more in tune with what's going on because the conservatives at the club like to have Fox News on
So
all the
funny.
time. But there was a headline that said when he was getting raided that it was the next day that although reports were that his plane went out of the country to a non-extradition area country, there are reports that he still never left the U.S. and he's in hiding. I don't know what the truth is. So obviously no one's seen or heard from him. So it could be
Yeah.
like a thing. He didn't get to his plane, so he's like, I'm going to hide, never leave this place, send my plane away, guys, so they think I left so no one's looking for me. That's not a stupid thing to do if you can't make it to your plane in time. Send
Right.
your plane off so everyone thinks that you're flying away. I don't know if you could do that, but that's kind of where I was going with it.
Interesting.
I don't know the truth, and all kinds of shit's coming out now, and I follow 50 Cent, and following 50 Cent is like listening to Schizophrenic. I never understand his posts. They're like cryptic all the time,
Mhm.
but some of it makes sense. Like there's some stuff out there, and I'm like, and then people are going and playing back old stuff,
Those are
interviews with like
sketch.
an old Usher interview where
Mhm.
like he's hinting at things, and like now hindsight's 2020. You start laying all this together, and I'm like, I would have never I don't know Puff Daddy or P Diddler at all ever, but like
Diddler.
you grow up listening to the Diddler's music, and like I grew up on fucking Bad Boys, bro. Like
Mm-hmm.
Biggie, like that was what we did in the 90s. And to think this whole time he's over here just diddling.
Crazy.
Just being a diddler.
Crazy. There's gonna be more
Yeah,
stuff of that coming
I
out for
know.
sure.
It's so wild. Like I can't even wrap my head around this of what's true and what's not, but I find it hard to believe. And the fact that he hid cameras, and listen, I have no problem with, I think that's hilarious because if you're gonna do bad shit that you don't want anyone to know and you're doing it in somebody else's house at a party, you have to think you're being recorded. So the fact that he had cameras in all of his rooms, I actually tip my hat to him on that. Like, good job in blackmailing those people. That was very intelligent move to utilize people's sins against them, because how dumb do you have to be to do some illegal, messed up shit that you're embarrassed of at somebody else's house and think that that's not coming back to bite you in the ass? Like, how
Yeah.
dumb can you be? And they're
They're
like, oh,
saying
Mr.
that he's the
Combs.
fall guy too. Like some of the
Really?
stuff they're saying is he's potentially the fall guy, and they're going
For
to the
what?
house to like it's destroy evidence of other higher up people like more higher up elite people that were involved in that.
Yeah, I get that because supposedly it happened at his like Freaknik parties or whatever he held all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and there's politicians and celebrities, and so, and I
Mm-hmm.
get it. And he had cameras in every room, and he's been blackmailing people supposedly for a long time. Which again, good for you, dude. Like, congratulations on getting these people
She's been blackmailing people to stop
to
getting daisy
succeed.
changed on mobile home park deals.
Um, yeah, I guess I could see that. It still doesn't, like, I don't know, like, is it just adults? Like he's forcing, is there rumors of kid, like, is there rumors of kids? Like, is that, I don't know. I
Jay
don't
Z,
know
I'm
the whole
seeing
story.
videos of him involved, something like that. I'm kind of seeing just random
I
stuff
know.
on the interwebs
I need
here.
to know the details here. Meek Mill, like, what's going on?
The
50
Meek
Cent's
Mill.
baby mama supposedly
Mhm.
was like I don't know.
More stuff will be coming out, dude.
And then,
More stuff will be coming out.
oh shit, what is it? The Discrimination League or whatever
DEI.
it is. No, Anti-Discrimination League. It's a Jewish community. Um, it basically is against. It's anti-discriminatory. They have now labeled the term and word or phrase or symbol of 100% as white supremacy. Now, if you say 100%, and you send that, that is you being a white supremacist. Have you not seen this? They came
I
out
have
and
not.
publicly, it's on their website. People like Patrick Bet David did it, Isabel Brown, everyone's talking, they're on their website. This was now newly released because supposedly in the
Huh.
white supremacy circles that 100% is about being 100% white, and now this is racist. This is getting
Yeah,
wild.
that is interesting. I don't know if I'm following, but
You're
I
not
don't know if I'm
following that.
I don't know if I'm following why that would be a
Because it's used in, it's like back in the day. Do you remember back in the day whenever they banned snowman sweaters? Do you remember that? Were you in school when you couldn't wear a snowman sweater because apparently snowman
from
was a term
Jeezy.
for
Well,
for
that's
cocaine
Young
dealers?
Jeezy's. That's Young Jeezy's nickname, Snowman.
Yeah, so you couldn't wear snowman sweaters because that was an indication you were a drug dealer.
Hmm. Interesting.
I
Humans
don't
are
know, dude.
fascinating creatures.
Are you looking it
Just
up right now?
I'm trying to. Yeah. Do you have it on your end?
Yeah.
That's such a random thing. Like I feel like there's a lot more. Let's
Some
bring it up
white,
on
so
John's back.
ADL.org, some white supremacist gang members may substitute alphanumeric equivalents such as 100 or 100%. Hang on. Yeah, that was all that was in the title. I have to like open it up. Yeah. Yeah, white supremacists will refer to themselves as 101, for example. Occasionally the percentage 123 appears, which also means 100% white. Bro, oh my goodness. And they have images up here about being in tattoos from white supremacy, about being 100% white. So that is now, if you're using that, that is now considered a numeric hate symbol. And
Weird.
if it's used, you could be. So the argument now becomes like people could start making arguments and using it against you. If you're just using it innocently, they can use it as a stance to say you're being racist and then use it against you. And it's like, what? Oh, this world, dude.
What a
It's
world!
getting
What a
so
world we live in!
wild. So wild, bro.
What a world we live in!
Hundo.
100%.
100%, bro. 100%. I'm gonna
100%
start
world we
saying
live in.
100%.
I feel like I say that already.
I mean, I send a little symbol.
Yeah,
all the time.
100 emoji.
Hundo.
They're gonna take that
I don't
out.
say. Yeah, I'm sure Apple's gonna get hit. And did you see Apple's getting sued now for
For what?
monopoly? You
Mhm.
haven't heard this?
Mhm.
Apple, listen to this. This is how stupid our world is. So the case, it goes a lot wider, right? It has to do with their iPhone predominantly. The sticking point that I was dying on now, you know, I play Bloomberg over here. So when this came up the one morning, this was like a week or so ago this happened. It is the fact that Apple segregates the colors of their texting so you know whether you're on an iPhone or an Android, and that then only makes people want so that discrimination against Androids, they're arguing, is creating a monopoly, which is forcing people to only want to buy iPhones because you are looked down upon if you have an Android, which we all know is true, right? Like there's memes about this. But supposedly they're being sued. The Department of Justice or whoever filed suit against Apple for the creation of a monopoly. And that was one of their reasons for it, was the colors of the text bubbles.
I don't know if that's going to be successful, but I do love iMessage, being able to see when people are typing and stuff. The fact that or the idea that that's what they're suing for, I don't know. I don't know, Poppy.
Bro, this is the world we've.
I don't have much for you on that one. I don't have much feedback on that one.
They have, so basically the lawsuit says that they have a monopoly power in the smartphone market.
I mean, they probably do. I don't think they should be sued for it, though.
I mean, but they do and they don't. But I mean, you have Motorola, you have Samsung, you have LG, like you have all of these other. BlackBerry, are they still
I think so.
Still a thing? Nokia, is that still a thing? But you get the idea, right? Like Google has their own phone. I just think you should Google it, and we don't need to get into it. But one of the main things about the monopoly was the text bubble. That's what I thought was hilarious. So, but yes, there's a lot more to it. So that was Pulse of the Week, bro.
People, man. Some good pulse. Some good pulse. Well, guys, hope you guys enjoyed a Papa P duo episode just with myself here. I had fun. Good conversation. Next week, we should have John back in the saddle. Knock on wood. Hopefully, I'm not traveling. Papa P will be traveling probably soon. His normal rhythm of checking out his Growing Park collection.
Yeah, we need John back. He keeps us in line so we don't.
He does. But I like the me and you episodes. We just kind of let it rip. I love that.
Yeah. Seriously though, you need to go look up this Apple. You need to go.
I will.
We need to get more info on the P Diddler and come back with the Diddler info.
Yeah, we'll do a weekly Diddler.
P Diddler. Yeah, P Diddler.
A weekly diddle will do.
But even his name really starts to make sense. Puff Daddy, P Daddy, like P Diddy, like Diddy.
Mm-hmm. It does.
All right, dude.
Cool, man.
I'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you sticking around. Hopefully, you waited the entire 128 minutes for the 5 minutes that we talked about seller finance.